Commander Jathic stood on the bridge of the Eternal Vigil, his three eyes scanning the holographic displays that floated before him. The massive warship hung in the darkness of space, silent and watchful. For 200 years, the Galactic Council had maintained this position. For 200 years, they had guarded the line. The line was not visible to the naked eye. It was simply a boundary in space, marked by satellites and monitoring stations. Beyond that invisible wall lay the Sol system, home to a species called humanity. The Council had put them there, locked them away from the rest of the galaxy. Some called it protection, others called it a prison. Jathic called it necessary. "All stations report normal activity, Commander," said his second officer, a young Vrelnati female named Shiral. Her scales reflected the blue light from the displays. "The quarantine zone remains secure." Jathic nodded slowly. His people, the Vrelnati, were patient by nature. They could wait for centuries if needed. But even patience had limits. The humans had been behind the line for so long now. Sometimes he wondered if they ever thought about breaking free. 200 years ago, a Council survey vessel had entered the Sol system. It was a routine mission, or so they thought. The ship carried scientists and diplomats, all eager to meet a new species. What they found was not what they expected. The humans attacked without warning. They used primitive weapons, chemical rockets, and nuclear warheads. The survey ship barely escaped. Half the crew died. The survivors brought back horror stories of a violent, aggressive species that shot first and never asked questions. The Council debated for months. Some wanted to destroy humanity before they could become a threat. Others argued for patience and understanding. In the end, they chose containment. They built the line and told humanity to stay behind it. Any ship that crossed would be destroyed. That was 200 years ago. Since then, silence. The humans never tried to contact the Council. They never attempted to cross the line. It was as if they had accepted their fate. "Commander," Kielm called from the science station. The insect-like Trithnari clicked his mandibles nervously. "I'm detecting unusual readings from inside the quarantine zone." Jathic moved to the science station, his heavy footsteps echoing in the quiet bridge. "What kind of readings?" "Energy signatures. Multiple sources. They're moving toward the line." Kielm's antennae twitched. "Sir, these signatures are stronger than anything we've detected from humanity before." A cold feeling spread through Jathic's body. "How many sources?" "Counting now. At least 100, no more." "Still counting." Kielm looked up, his compound eyes reflecting genuine fear. "Commander, there are hundreds of ships approaching the line." The bridge fell silent. Every crew member turned to stare at the main display. Jathic felt his heart beating faster. This was it. After 200 years, the humans were making their move. "Sound alert status," Jathic ordered. "Notify Council Fleet Command. Activate all defense platforms." Red lights began flashing throughout the ship. Across the entire fleet, thousands of vessels received the same message. The humans were coming. Counselor Mazir appeared on the communication screen. The elderly Fashir looked tired, his gray skin sagging with age. "Commander Jathic, I just received your alert." "Is this confirmed?" "Yes, Counselor. Human vessels are approaching the line in force. We count at least 300 ships, possibly more." Mazir closed all four of his eyes. "This is what I feared. This is why we kept them contained. They're too aggressive, too unpredictable." He opened his eyes again. "You have authorization to use necessary force. Do not let them cross the line." The communication ended. Jathic stared at the empty screen for a moment. Use necessary force. That meant war. That meant killing. "Sir, the human ships are still approaching," Shiral reported. "They're not slowing down." "Broadcast on all frequencies," Jathic ordered. "Tell them to stop immediately or we will fire." The communications officer, a Helixian with long, flexible fingers, worked quickly. "Broadcasting now, sir. All known human frequencies." They waited. The seconds felt like hours. The human ships continued forward, now less than 1 million kilometers from the line. "Any response?" Jathic asked. "Nothing, Commander. They're ignoring our warnings." Jathic's mind raced. If they crossed the line, he would have to fire. If he fired, thousands would die. But if he let them through, what message would that send? That the Council was weak? That containment meant nothing. "Fleet Formation Delta," he commanded. "All ships, battle positions. Charge weapons." Across the void, the Council fleet moved into position. 2,000 warships, the pride of 12 different species, formed a wall of steel and energy, their weapons powered up, ready to unleash destruction. The human ships crossed the line. They've breached the quarantine zone, Shirel shouted. Commander, what are your orders? Jothic opened his mouth to give the order to fire. But something stopped him. The human ships were not attacking. They were simply moving forward, steady and purposeful. There was no aggression in their formation. They looked almost peaceful. Incoming transmission, the communications officer announced. It's from the human fleet. Sir, they're speaking in Galactic Standard. Jothic's blood ran cold. Galactic Standard. That was impossible. Humans had been isolated for 200 years. How could they know the common language of the Council? Put it through, a voice filled the bridge. It was human, speaking with careful precision. Council fleet, this is the human vessel Defiance. We are not here to fight. We are here to talk. We know you're out there. We've known for decades. Murmurs spread across the bridge. Kel made a chittering sound of surprise. Shirel's scales changed color, showing her shock. How? Jothic whispered. Then louder. How do you know our language? How did you detect us? The human voice continued calm and steady. 200 years ago, you left something behind when your survey ship fled our system. Debris, wreckage, technology, we studied it. We learned from it. We've been listening to your communications ever since. We know about the Council. We know about the species that make it up. We know about your laws, your culture, your wars. Jothic felt dizzy. The humans had been watching them. Learning. All this time, the Council thought they were in control, thought they were the ones doing the observing. But the humans had turned the tables. You have no right to cross the line, Jothic said, trying to sound authoritative. Return to your system immediately. There was a pause. Then laughter. A human laugh, strange and alien to Vrelnathi ears. Commander, we spent 200 years in a cage. We're done asking for permission. We're claiming our right to the stars. Stand aside or don't, but we're not going back. More ships appeared on the sensors. Not hundreds, thousands. They had been hiding using some kind of camouflage technology the Council couldn't detect. Kelm stared at his instruments in disbelief. Commander, I'm reading over 3,000 human vessels now. Where do they all come from? Jothic didn't answer. He was watching the main display, watching the human fleet spread out before him like a vast net. They had played the Council perfectly. They had appeared weak, isolated, contained. But all along they had been building, growing, preparing. The Defiance transmitted again. We request formal parley with Council leadership. We have much to discuss. The galaxy is bigger than you know, and the threats are greater than you imagine. You need us, Council fleet. You just don't know it yet. Jothic looked around his bridge. Every face showed the same expression. Fear, wonder, confusion. The careful order of 200 years had shattered in moments. Send the message to Council headquarters. Jothic said quietly. Tell them humanity has entered the line. Tell them everything has changed. The Council response came within hours. Do not engage unless attacked. Attempt all first contact protocols. Stall until reinforcements arrive. Jothic read the orders 3 times. Stall. As if the humans were some minor problem that could be managed with procedure and patience. But looking at the thousands of ships on his display, he knew better. This was not a problem. This was a revolution. Begin first contact protocols, he ordered. Sequence Alpha 1. The Council had developed these protocols over thousands of years. They were designed to communicate with any intelligent species, no matter how different. Mathematics was universal. Patterns were universal. Surely the humans would understand. The communications officer sent out the first sequence. Prime numbers. 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, simple, clear. A message that said, we are intelligent beings who wish to communicate. The human response came immediately. They sent back the next 20 prime numbers in perfect order, then added a message. We learned your protocols from your databases. Do you have anything new to say? Kel made a nervous clicking sound. They hacked our databases? When? How? That debris from 200 years ago, Jothic said bitterly. They must have recovered computer systems. Probably spent decades breaking our encryption. He felt a grudging respect for the humans. They were clever. Dangerously clever. Try Protocol Beta 3, he ordered. Universal friendship greeting. The communications officer transmitted complex geometric patterns and color sequences that had been proven to create positive emotional responses in over 50 known species. The council had refined these greetings over millennia. The humans responded with a simple message. Pretty pictures. Now can we talk like adults? Several crew members made sounds of shock. Shiral's scales flushed orange with embarrassment. The humans were mocking them. Counselor Mazir appeared on the screen again, this time with other council members visible behind him. Commander, we're watching your transmissions. The humans are being deliberately provocative. Show them the consequences of crossing the line. Fire warning shots. Jothik hesitated. Counselor, with respect, I don't think warning shots will... That's an order, Commander. Jothik gestured to his weapons officer. Target empty space ahead of the human formation. Plasma cannons only fire. Blue bolts of superheated plasma shot across the void. Each shot contained enough energy to vaporize a small moon. They streaked toward the human ships calculated to pass just ahead of their formation. But the shots never made it past the human fleet. Point defense systems, small and precise, intercepted every single plasma bolt. The shots exploded harmlessly in space, creating brief flowers of light that faded quickly. They stopped our warning shots, the weapons officer said, his voice shaking. Sir, those systems are incredibly precise. Better than anything we have. Jothik pulled up the analysis data. The human point defense had reacted in microseconds. The targeting was perfect. This wasn't luck. This was technology that exceeded council standards. How is this possible? Mazir demanded from the screen. They were primitives 200 years ago. Chemical rockets and nuclear weapons. How did they advance so quickly? Kelm spoke up, his scientific mind working through the problem. Counselor, humans have shorter lifespans than most council species. They live perhaps 80 to 100 of their years. That means they've gone through multiple generations since first contact. Each generation building on the last, each one pushing harder, faster. And they were motivated, Jothik added. We locked them in a cage. Every human child grew up knowing there was a galaxy beyond their reach. That kind of pressure either breaks a species or makes them stronger. Clearly it made them stronger, Shiral said quietly. The main display suddenly filled with new contacts. More human ships appeared, materializing out of empty space like ghosts becoming solid. The fleet count jumped from 3,000 to 5,000, then 6,000, then 7,000. Stealth technology, Kilm breathed. They've been hiding additional ships. We couldn't even detect them. The human voice returned, the same calm tone as before. Council fleet, we're showing you our full strength now. We could have stayed hidden. We could have surprised you. But we're not here for war. We're here for recognition. A new image appeared on all council displays. A human face. The creature had two eyes, forward-facing like a predator. Brown skin, black hair cut short. Male probably based on the facial structure. He wore a dark uniform with symbols that meant nothing to council species. I am Admiral Chen Wei of the Terran Space Force. I speak for humanity. We have a proposal for the Galactic Council. Mazir leaned forward. The Council does not negotiate with species who break containment protocols. Then you're fools, Chen Wei said bluntly. While you've been watching us, we've been watching you. Specifically, we've been watching your war. Silence filled every council ship within range. Jothik felt his blood turn cold. What war? Mazir asked, but his voice was weak. Chen Wei smiled. It was not a friendly expression. The war you've been fighting for 80 years. The war against the Krith swarm. The war you're losing. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Jothik could see dozens of council members shouting at their screens. The Krith war was classified at the highest levels. Only military commanders and top council leadership knew the full extent of the threat. How do you know about the Krith? Jothik demanded. Your communications aren't as secure as you think, Chen Wei replied. We've intercepted battle reports, casualty lists, resource allocation requests. We've watched you lose system after system. We've seen your retreat strategies, and we've analyzed your tactics. Another human appeared next to Chen Wei. This one was female with dark skin and gray hair. She wore different clothing, more formal. I am Ambassador Sarah Okonkwo. I speak for Earth's diplomatic corps. The Krith swarm is spreading from the galactic edge inward. Your defensive strategies are failing because you're fighting a war of containment. You cannot contain the Krith. You can only destroy them. And you think you can do better? Mazir asked scornfully. We know we can, Okonkwo said. Because we've been preparing. For 50 years, humanity has been running simulations. We've studied every Krith battle. We've analyzed their tactics, their biology, their technology. We know their weaknesses. Chen Wei touched a control. New displays appeared showing battle scenarios. Human ships engaged Krith vessels in dozens of different situations. The tactics were aggressive, brutal, and effective. You fight defensively, Chen Wei explained. You protect your worlds and wait for the Krith to attack. Then you respond. By then it's too late. You're always reacting, never acting. He highlighted a human strategy. We would fight offensively. We would take the battle to the Krith. We would board their ships, destroy their command nodes, disrupt their hive communications. We would make them afraid. The Council does not approve of such aggressive warfare, Mazir said stiffly. Then the Council will die, Chen Wei said simply. The Krith don't care about your approval. They don't negotiate. They don't surrender. They consume and they expand. The only language they understand is force. Okonkwo stepped forward. We're offering you a choice, Council. Grant humanity full membership. Give us access to your technology, your intelligence, your resources. In return, we'll help you fight the Krith. We'll show you how to win. And if we refuse? Mazir asked. Chen Wei's smile returned, cold and hard. Then we'll go fight the Krith ourselves. We'll prove our worth by saving the worlds you can't. And when we've pushed the Krith back, when we've done what you couldn't do in 80 years, we'll return. And then we'll have this conversation again. But by then you won't be negotiating from strength. You'll be begging for our help. Jathik watched the council members on his screen. They were angry, frightened, and desperate all at once. The humans had backed them into a corner. Accept them as equals or be humiliated by watching them succeed where the council had failed. This is blackmail, Mazir said. This is reality, Okonkwo replied gently. We're not your enemies, Council. We could have been. We had every reason to hate you after 200 years of imprisonment. But we learned something during those years. We learned patience. We learned to think long-term. And we learned that the galaxy is too dangerous for any species to face alone. Chen Wei nodded. We need each other. You need our tactics and our willingness to take risks. We need your knowledge and your resources. Together we can stop the Krith. Divided we all fail. The transmission ended. The human ships held their position, waiting. Jathik looked at his crew. Every face showed the same confusion he felt. The humans had come with overwhelming force, but they were asking for partnership. They had demonstrated superiority, but they were offering cooperation. It didn't match any profile the council had developed. They're not what we expected, Kelm said softly. No, Jathik agreed. They're worse or better. I can't decide which. On his screen, Mazir was arguing with other council members. Jathik couldn't hear the conversation, but he could see the result. The council was divided. Some saw opportunity, others saw only threat. But looking at the 7,000 human ships that hung before him, Jathik knew one thing with certainty. Everything had changed. The galaxy would never be the same. The neutral station hung at the edge of the line like a pearl in darkness. It had been built centuries ago for exactly this purpose, negotiations between species that didn't trust each other. The station was automated, protected by powerful shields, and designed to self-destruct if anyone tried to take control by force. Jathik had never actually been to the station before. In 200 years of guarding the line, there had been no need. Now he walked its corridors with careful steps flanked by 2 guards. They were heading to the central meeting chamber where history would be made or broken. The chamber was circular, with seats arranged in a ring. No position was superior to another. No species sat above the rest. It was designed for equality, though Jathik suspected that design would be tested today. Council members were already present. Mazir sat with other senior counselors representing 12 different species. They wore their finest formal clothing, colors, and styles from a dozen worlds. They looked impressive and important. Then the humans arrived and everything changed. Admiral Chen Wei entered first, walking with the easy confidence of someone who had nothing to prove. Ambassador Okonkwo followed carrying a data tablet. Behind them came 6 other humans, military officers and diplomats. They wore simple uniforms, dark blue with silver details. No fancy decorations. No excessive displays of rank, but they didn't need decorations. Their presence alone commanded respect. Jathik studied them carefully. Humans were smaller than most council species. They had only 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes. Physically, they seemed unremarkable, but there was something in the way they moved. Purpose, direction, like predators who had chosen not to hunt but could change their mind at any moment. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," Okonkwo said. She spoke Galactic Standard perfectly with only a slight accent. "We understand this situation is unusual." "Unusual?" Mazir's voice was sharp. "You broke a 200-year quarantine. You invaded council space with military force. You threaten us with ultimatums. This goes far beyond unusual." Chenwei smiled slightly. "We prefer to think of it as making a dramatic entrance." Several council members made sounds of outrage. Kelm, sitting near Jothic, clicked nervously. But Jothic found himself almost amused. The humans had a strange sense of humor about serious matters. "Let's be clear about the situation," Okonkwo said, her tone becoming more formal. "Humanity has been imprisoned for 2 centuries because of one violent encounter. An encounter that happened when we were barely beginning to explore our own solar system. We've changed since then. We've grown, but you never gave us a chance to prove it." "You proved your nature," Mazir replied. "Violence is what you understand. Violence is what everyone understands," Chenwei said coldly. "The difference is we're honest about it. You dress up warfare with protocols and procedures, but in the end you point weapons at problems just like we do. The only difference is we're better at it." Counselor Traven, a tall Helixian with golden skin, leaned forward. "You claim to understand the Krith threat. Prove it. What do you know about them?" Okonkwo touched her tablet. Holographic displays filled the center of the chamber. Images of Krith vessels, battle formations, attack patterns. Data scrolled past, hundreds of pages of analysis. "The Krith are a hive-minded species," Okonkwo began. "Individual units have limited intelligence, but collectively, they form a sophisticated command structure. They communicate through quantum entanglement, which makes their coordination nearly perfect. They don't feel fear. They don't negotiate. They exist only to consume resources and expand." "We know all this," Traven said impatiently. "Then you know their weakness," Chenwei said. "Disrupt the command nodes and the swarm falls apart. The individual units lose coordination. They become easy targets." "We've tried attacking command nodes," Jothic said. "They're too well protected. We lose dozens of ships trying to break through their defenses." "Because you attack from outside," Chenwei replied. "You use long-range weapons trying to break through their shields. We would board them." The chamber fell silent. Boarding actions were considered barbaric, a tactic from primitive times. Modern warfare was conducted at distance with energy weapons and missiles. The idea of actually entering an enemy ship was almost unthinkable. "You can't be serious," Mazir said. "We're completely serious," Chenwei said. "Small teams, heavily armed, using stealth insertion. Get inside their shields, fight through their corridors, destroy the command nodes from within. It's dangerous. Many will die. But it works. How do you know it will work?" Kelm asked, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. Okonkwo smiled. "We've tested it. Not against the Krith, obviously, but against simulated Krith defenses. We built mock-ups of their ships based on your battle reports. We trained thousands of Marines in close-quarters combat. We ran scenarios for 30 years. She pulled up new images. Human soldiers in heavy armor, carrying weapons that looked brutal and efficient. Training facilities that recreated alien environments, endless drills and exercises. You prepared for a war you weren't even part of, Traven said, sounding impressed despite himself. We prepared for the war we knew was coming, Chenwei corrected. The Krith won't stop at council borders. Eventually they'll reach Seoul. We'd rather face them with allies than alone. Mazir stood up, his 4 hands clenched in anger. This is what I warned the council about. This is why we kept humanity contained. You're too aggressive, too militaristic. You think only of war and violence. No, Okonkwo said firmly. We think of survival. There's a difference. We don't want war, Council. We want peace, but we're willing to fight for it. She stepped closer to Mazir, meeting his eyes without fear. You want to know the real reason you kept us behind the line? It wasn't because we attacked one ship 200 years ago. It was because you were afraid of what we'd become if you gave us access to your technology. Mazir said nothing. You were right to be afraid, Okonkwo continued, but not for the reasons you think. You weren't afraid we'd conquer you. You were afraid we'd show you what you've forgotten, that sometimes survival requires sacrifice, that sometimes you have to take risks, That sometimes you have to be willing to fight instead of just defend. She pulled up another display. This one showed council battle reports from the past 80 years. A steady pattern of retreat, of worlds lost, of populations evacuated. A long, slow defeat. In 80 years of fighting the Krith, you've never won a major offensive operation. Okonkwo said quietly. You've saved lives through evacuation. You've delayed them with defensive positions. But you've never actually pushed them back. Not once. The council members looked at the data. No one could deny it. We can change that, Chen Wei said. Give us a chance. One battle. Let us prove our tactics work. If we fail, you can send us back behind the line and forget we ever crossed it. But if you succeed, we grant you full council membership, Traven finished. He looked at Mazir. It's a reasonable offer. It's a trap, Mazir said. They'll prove themselves in one battle, join the council, and then gradually take control. They'll remake us in their image. Or, Jothic said, speaking for the first time in the meeting, they'll help us survive. And isn't that worth the risk? Mazir turned to glare at him. Commander, you're supposed to support the council's position. I do support the council, Jothic said calmly. I support keeping the council alive. The humans are offering us a weapon we desperately need. Their tactics may be brutal, but they may also be effective. Can we afford to refuse? The other council members began talking among themselves. Arguments filled the chamber. Some agreed with Mazir, seeing only danger in accepting humans. Others saw opportunity, a chance to finally turn the tide against the Krith. Okonkwo waited patiently while they debated. Chen Wei stood with his arms crossed, watching everything with those predator eyes. The other humans remained silent, letting their leader speak for them. Finally, Traven raised his hand for silence. I propose a compromise. We allow humanity to participate in the next defensive operation against the Krith. They will fight alongside council forces. If their tactics prove effective, we will reconsider their membership status. That's barely different from their original proposal, Mazir protested, but it gives us control. Traven replied. They fight under our command. They follow our rules of engagement. If they prove too aggressive or dangerous, we can end the partnership. Chen Wei and Okonkwo looked at each other. Some silent communication passed between them. Then Okonkwo nodded. We accept, she said. Under one condition. If we prove our worth, the membership vote happens immediately. No delays, no further tests. One battle, one chance, agreed, Traven said. He looked around the chamber. All in favor? Hands were raised. Not all of them. Mazir kept his four hands firmly down, but enough supported the motion. The vote passed. Then it's decided, Traven announced. Humanity will fight alongside the council fleet. May the void have mercy on us all. Jothic watched the humans as they left the chamber. They walked with satisfaction, like hunters who had successfully stalked their prey. But there was something else too, relief. They had genuinely wanted this partnership. For all their strength and confidence, they had been worried the council would refuse. Kelm clicked quietly beside him. Do you think we made the right choice? Jothic thought about that the alarm came during the night shift, 3 days after the negotiation. Jothic was sleeping in his quarters when the emergency lights flooded his room with red illumination. He was on the bridge within 2 minutes, still fastening his uniform. Report, he ordered. Shiral was at her station, her scales pale with stress. Krith swarm, sir. Massive force. They've entered the Terath system, 3 jumps from here. 2 billion civilians on those worlds. Jothic felt ice in his chest. The Terath system was a core council territory. 3 populated planets, dozens of orbital stations. If it fell, millions would die before they could evacuate. Council fleet is scrambling, Shiral continued. Every available ship is being called to defend Terath, including us, and including the human fleet. Status of human forces? Already moving, sir. They began acceleration the moment the alarm sounded. They'll reach Terath before we do. Jothic pulled up the tactical display. The Krith force was enormous, at least 500 vessels, maybe more. The council could bring perhaps 400 ships to the defense. Not good odds, but they'd faced worse. The Eternal Vigil jumped to hyperspace along with the rest of the fleet. The journey would take 6 hours. 6 hours to prepare, 6 hours to wonder if they would live or die. On the bridge, no one spoke. They had all fought the Krith before. They knew what was coming. When they emerged from hyperspace at Terath, the battle had already begun. The humans hadn't waited. The display showed chaos. Krith vessels swarmed around the 3 planets like insects around rotting fruit. Their ships were organic-looking things grown rather than built. They moved in perfect coordination, never colliding, never confused. The hive mind controlled them all, and fighting through that swarm were the human ships. Jothic had expected the humans to fight from range, using their advanced weapons to pick off Krith vessels. Instead, they fought like madmen. Human ships dove straight into the thickest Krith formations, firing at point-blank range. They rammed Krith vessels when their weapons overheated. They used the destroyed wrecks of enemy ships as shields while they reloaded. "They're going to get themselves killed," Kelm whispered. But they weren't dying, at least not fast enough to matter. For every human ship destroyed, they took down 4 or 5 Krith vessels. The exchange rate was brutal but effective. "Council Fleet, this is Admiral Chen Wei," the transmission came through. "Good timing. We've been keeping them busy, but there's too many. We need your heavy firepower on the command ships." Jothic pulled up the tactical analysis. The humans had identified the Krith command vessels. There were 3 of them. Massive bioships that coordinated entire sections of the swarm. Destroying them was the key to victory. It always had been, but they were too well protected, surrounded by hundreds of smaller Krith ships. "Admiral Chen, those vessels are behind defensive screens we can't penetrate," Jothic replied. "We'll get you through," Chen Wei said. "Follow our lead. And Commander? This is going to get rough. Tell your crew to hold on." What followed was the most insane combat maneuver Jothic had ever witnessed. The human fleet formed a wedge with their heaviest ships at the point. They accelerated directly at the Krith defensive screen, absorbing terrible damage. Ships exploded. Hulls were torn apart, but the wedge didn't break. They smashed through the Krith lines like a spear through flesh. "All ships follow the human wedge," Jothic ordered. "Pour fire into the command ships." The Council fleet followed, protected by the corridor of destruction the humans had carved. Council warships unleashed their most powerful weapons: plasma cannons, antimatter missiles, graviton beams. The Krith command ships tried to evade, but they were too large, too slow. The first command ship died in a blast of blue fire. Immediately, hundreds of Krith vessels lost coordination. They continued fighting, but their perfect teamwork was gone. They became individuals, easier to target, easier to destroy. "Second command ship forward section," Chen Wei called. "Hit it now." But before the Council ships could target it, a human vessel broke from formation. The ship was burning, its hull breached in dozens of places. It had maybe minutes before total systems failure. Instead of retreating, it accelerated straight at the command ship. "What are they doing?" Shiral gasped. Jothic understood a moment before impact. Ramming speed. The human ship hit the Krith command vessel at full acceleration. The explosion lit up space like a newborn star. When the light faded, both ships were gone. And another section of the Krith swarm fell into confusion. Did they just sacrifice themselves? Kelm asked in horror. "They saved thousands of lives," Jothic said quietly. "Focus fire on the 3rd command ship." But the humans weren't done with their insane tactics. Dozens of small craft launched from the human fleet. They were tiny things, barely visible on sensors. They flew straight at the remaining command ship, dodging defensive fire with impossible agility. "What are those?" Shiral asked. "Boarding craft," Kelm said, staring at his sensors. "They're actually going to board the command ship." The small craft attached themselves to the Krith vessel like parasites. Explosive charges blew holes in the organic hull. Human soldiers poured inside, hundreds of them, carrying weapons and moving with purpose. On the tactical display, Jothic could see the damage reports from inside the Krith ship. The humans were fighting through corridors, facing Krith warriors in close combat. It was brutal. Casualties were enormous. But the humans kept pushing forward. "They've reached the command core," Kelm reported. "They're planting charges." "All ships pull back from the command vessel," Jothic ordered. "Give them room." The Council fleet retreated. The Krith swarmed around the command ship, trying to protect it. But it was too late. The explosions came from inside. The command ship tore itself apart from within. The hull ruptured in a dozen places. Atmosphere vented into space. The massive vessel began to spin out of control, dying, and with it died the coordination of the entire Krith swarm. The remaining vessels lost all cohesion. They became a mob, dangerous but disorganized. The Council fleet and human ships cut through them with methodical efficiency. 2 hours later, it was over. The Krith were destroyed or retreating. Terath was saved, but the cost had been terrible. Jothic looked at the casualty reports and felt sick. The human fleet had entered the battle with 2,000 ships. Now they had less than 1,200. 40% losses. By council standards, that was a disaster. A defeat even if they'd won the battle. But the humans saw it differently. Terath saved, Chen Wei transmitted. His voice was tired but satisfied. 2 billion civilians safe. 3 Krith command ships destroyed. I'd call that a victory. Jothic watched the human fleet regroup. The surviving ships were battered, scarred, leaking atmosphere and fluids. But they maintained formation. They remained ready to fight. Admiral Chen, Jothic said slowly, your losses were catastrophic. You lost nearly half your fleet. There was a pause. Then Chen Wei replied, his voice soft but firm. Commander, we lost ships. But we saved lives. Human lives. Council lives. Lives we've never even met. Species we barely know. That's not a loss. That's what we came here to do. Jothic closed his eyes. He thought about council warfare, where preserving ships and minimizing casualties was the primary goal. Where retreating to save forces was considered wisdom. The humans had abandoned that entire philosophy. They threw themselves into danger not because they didn't value their lives, but because they valued other lives more. The boarding teams, Jothic asked. How many survived? Another pause. Longer this time. Out of 600 Marines who boarded the command ship, 32 made it out. The rest are gone. 32 out of 600. Jothic felt the weight of that number. Hundreds of humans had walked into certain death to save people they didn't know, and they'd done it without hesitation. On his tactical display, he watched human rescue craft moving through the debris field, searching for survivors. They were pulling council crew from damaged ships even though their own people were dying. They were towing council vessels to safety even though their own ships needed repairs. Chiral spoke quietly. They're not like us. No, Jothic agreed. They're exactly like us. They're just braver about showing it. A transmission came from council headquarters. Councillor Traven appeared on screen. Behind him, Jothic could see the full council chamber. Every member was present. Even Mazir. Commander Jothic, Admiral Chen Wei, Ambassador Okonkwo, Traven said formally. The council has witnessed the battle for Terath. We have reviewed the tactical data. We have seen the human sacrifice. He paused, looking at something off-screen. Then he looked directly at the camera. The council votes now on the question of human membership. After what we've witnessed, after what humanity has proven, the vote is merely a formality. But it must be done properly. Traven called for the vote. Hands were raised across the chamber. One by one, council members voted yes. Even some who had opposed humanity before. Even Mazir, who raised his hands slowly but raised them nonetheless. The vote is unanimous, Traven announced. Humanity is granted full membership in the Galactic Council. Welcome, humans. Welcome to the stars you fought so hard to reach. On the human flagship Defiance, Admiral Chen Wei stood silently. The memorial took place in space near where the line had once been drawn. Thousands of ships gathered, human and council vessels side by side. They floated in the darkness together, united in grief and respect. Jothic stood on the bridge of the Eternal Vigil, watching the ceremony on his display. Human bodies were being released into space, each one in a sealed container marked with their name and rank. Traditional burial, Admiral Chen had explained, giving their dead to the stars they had fought to reach. 837, Kilm said quietly. That's how many humans died at Terath, Jothic nodded. 837 people who would never see their homeworld again. 837 families who would mourn. It was a small number compared to the billions saved, but each one was a universe of loss. They knew the risks, Chiral said. They went anyway. That's what makes them remarkable, Jothic replied. In the 3 weeks since the battle, everything had changed. Human technology was being shared with council scientists. Human tactical doctrine was being studied by council military academies. Human diplomats were taking their seats in the council chamber, their voices now equal to any other species. But more than that, something fundamental had shifted in how the council thought about warfare. For 80 years they had fought the Krith defensively, always reacting, always retreating. The humans had shown them a different way. Not reckless aggression but calculated risk. Not careless violence but purposeful sacrifice. Kelm pulled up new data on his display. Commander, I've been analyzing the Krith command ship that the humans boarded. The data they recovered is extraordinary. Jothic moved to the science station. What did they find? Location data. The humans found the Krith's navigation records. We now know where they're coming from, which systems they've already consumed, and potentially where their central hive is located. Jothik stared at the data. In 80 years of fighting, the Council had never been able to locate the Krith home systems. They had tried, desperately, but the Krith never left survivors who could provide that information. The humans had found it in one battle by doing what the Council considered impossible. They had gone inside a Krith ship and taken what they needed. This changes everything, Jothik said. With this information, we can plan offensive operations. Real offensives, not just defensive holding actions. The humans are already planning, Kelm said. Ambassador Okonkwo has proposed a joint task force. Human tactics combined with Council firepower. They're calling it Operation Lighthouse. Lighthouse? Human metaphor, Kelm explained. A light that guides ships home. They want to push the Krith back so far that Council worlds will be safe. A light in the darkness, Jothik considered that. For 80 years, the Council had been losing ground. Now for the first time they were talking about taking it back. Not just surviving, but winning. A transmission request came from the Council chamber. Jothik accepted it. Councillor Mazir appeared on screen, looking older than usual. The battle had aged him. Commander Jothik, Mazir said formally, I wanted to speak with you privately before the Council makes its announcement. Of course, Councillor. Mazir was quiet for a moment, his four hands clasped together. I was wrong about humanity. I spent 200 years convinced they were a threat. I fought against their inclusion. I believed containment was the only safe option. He looked directly at Jothik. I watched them die at Terath. I watched them sacrifice themselves for people they'd never met. And I realized something. I wasn't afraid of what humanity would do to us. I was afraid of what they would show us about ourselves. What do you mean? Jothik asked. We've become comfortable, Mazir said. Safe, we avoid risks. We value preservation over action. The Krith have been pushing us back for 80 years, and we've let them because fighting back would cost too much. We've forgotten how to truly fight for what we believe in. He gestured to something off-screen. The humans haven't forgotten. They came out of containment angry and determined. They could have fought us. They could have taken revenge for 200 years of imprisonment. Instead, they offered partnership. They offered to die for us. That takes courage we've lost. You're being too hard on the Council, Jothik said. We've saved billions through evacuation and defense. Yes, Mazir agreed. But the humans saved billions through offense and sacrifice. There's a difference. One prolongs the war. The other ends it. The transmission ended, leaving Jothik alone with his thoughts. He looked at the memorial still playing on his screen. The last of the human dead were being released to space. Behind them, human and Council ships maintained perfect formation. A final salute to those who had fallen. Shirel interrupted his thoughts. Commander, new orders from Council Fleet Command. We're being reassigned. Where? Human liaison duty. We're to work directly with the Terran Space Force, helping coordinate joint operations. She paused. Sir, they specifically requested you. Jothik felt a mixture of honor and trepidation. Did they say why? Admiral Chen said, and I quote, Commander Jothik was willing to trust us when trust wasn't easy. That's the kind of officer we need leading this new alliance. Hours later, Jothik found himself on a transport heading to the human flagship Defiance. It was his first time on a human vessel. The corridors were narrower than Council ships designed for their smaller frames. The walls were covered with displays showing Earth, a blue and green world that looked surprisingly beautiful. Admiral Chenwei met him in the conference room. The human looked tired but determined. Next to him was Ambassador Okonkwo and several other officers Jothik didn't recognize. Commander Jothik, Chen said, extending his hand in the human greeting. Thank you for agreeing to work with us. Jothik took the hand, trying to match the firm grip. The honor is mine, Admiral. Your people proved themselves at Terath. We proved we're willing to die, Chen said. Now we need to prove we can live. The war against the Krith isn't over. It's just beginning. Okonkwo activated a holographic display. It showed the galaxy, with Krith-controlled systems marked in red. There were too many red marks. But now there were also blue marks showing a proposed offensive route. Operation Lighthouse, she explained. We're not just going to push the Krith back. We're going to destroy their ability to wage war. We've analyzed their supply lines, their breeding systems, their command structure. We know where to hit them. "This will be dangerous," one of the human officers said. "We'll lose people. Lots of people. But if we succeed, we can end this war in 5 years instead of another 80. Jothic studied the plan. It was aggressive, risky, and completely against Council military doctrine. It was also brilliant. "When do we begin?" he asked. Chen smiled. 2 months. We need time to repair our fleet, train Council forces in our tactics, and coordinate logistics. But in 2 months we go on the offensive. Over the following weeks, Jothic watched the transformation of the Council military. Human instructors taught boarding tactics to Council Marines. Human engineers helped retrofit Council ships with new weapons. Human strategists shared their doctrine of aggressive, decisive warfare. It wasn't always smooth. Council species struggled with human tactics that seemed reckless. Humans struggled with Council procedures that seemed overcautious. But slowly they learned from each other. The Council became bolder. The humans became more disciplined. Kelm spent hours with human scientists analyzing the data from the Krith command ship. He reported back with growing excitement. "The humans think differently than us," he explained to Jothic. "When we encounter a problem, we try to solve it within existing knowledge. Humans ask, what if we try something completely different? It's maddening but effective." The memorial satellites that had been placed near the old line were gradually removed. In their place, new construction began. Joint defense stations crewed by both human and Council personnel, training facilities where the two forces could learn together, diplomatic outposts where ideas could be exchanged. The line itself, that invisible boundary that had separated humanity from the galaxy for 2 centuries, was officially dissolved. In its place, Council cartographers simply marked human space on their maps, integrated with Council territory as if it had always been there. 6 months after the Battle of Tarath, the Joint Fleet assembled for Operation Lighthouse. Over 3,000 ships, the largest offensive force in Council history. Half were Council vessels, half were human. All flew the new combined fleet banner, a symbol that represented both peoples working together. Jothic stood on the bridge of the Eternal Vigil, now designated as a command ship for the Joint Fleet. Shiral was at her station, her scales showing excitement rather than fear. Kelm worked with a human scientist, both of them analyzing final target data. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the communication screen. "All ships report ready, Commander. We're waiting on your order." It was a small gesture, giving Jothic the honor of starting the operation, but it meant something. It meant the humans saw the Council as true partners, not just followers. "All ships," Jothic said clearly. "Execute Operation Lighthouse. Take us to the Krith home systems. It's time to end this war." The fleet jumped to hyperspace, thousands of ships moving as one, human and Council, different but united, heading toward The massive alien ship appeared above Earth's orbit on a Tuesday morning. It was 3 kilometers long, shaped like a crescent moon made of silver metal and glowing blue lights. Every government on Earth went into emergency mode. Military bases activated their defenses. Citizens looked up at the sky with wonder and fear. The ship sent a message in perfect English, Mandarin, Spanish, and 50 other human languages. "Greetings, people of Earth. We are the Galactic Council. You are not alone in the universe. We come in peace to welcome you to the greater community." Within 6 hours, Earth's leaders gathered in a secret United Nations facility in Geneva. Around the table sat presidents, prime ministers, generals, and scientists. They watched the video transmission from the alien ship over and over again. "Are they friendly?" someone asked. "We don't know yet," replied Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's lead xenobiologist. "But they found us. We didn't find them. That means they're more advanced than us." The aliens invited human representatives to meet them on their ship. A team of 12 humans went up in a shuttle. When they entered the alien vessel, they saw beings from dozens of different worlds. Some walked on 2 legs, others on 4 or 6. Some had scales, others had fur or skin like smooth stone. They all wore similar uniforms with symbols that probably meant rank or position. The leader of the alien delegation was a tall creature named Ambassador Kelvin. He had blue-gray skin, 4 arms, and large yellow eyes. He spoke through a translation device that hung in the air between them. "Welcome, humans of Earth," Kelvin said. "We represent 47 civilizations in this sector of the galaxy. We have watched your world for some time. You have finally reached a level of technology that allows us to make contact." The human ambassador, a veteran diplomat named James Morrison, stepped forward. "Thank you for your welcome. We have many questions." And we have answers, Kelvin replied. But first we must discuss your place in the Galactic Council. We rank civilizations by their capabilities. After studying your world, we classify Earth as a Class 4 civilization. You have basic space travel, primitive energy systems, and limited military capacity. You are welcome to join the Council as a junior member. Morrison felt the insult in those words but kept his face neutral. What does junior membership mean? You will have access to some galactic trade routes. You may sell your resources and buy our technology. You will follow Council laws. In return, we offer protection and knowledge, Kelvin explained. He made it sound generous, but Morrison heard the real message. Earth would be the new kid in class sitting at the back doing what they were told. We need time to discuss this with our governments, Morrison said. Of course, you have one of your weeks. But understand, isolation is not a real choice. Either you join the galactic community under our terms, or you will find yourselves cut off from all benefits. No trade, no technology sharing, no protection if hostile species find you interesting. The human delegation returned to Earth. The debates lasted for days. Some wanted to reject the offer. Others said they had no choice. In the end, Earth's united government agreed to join the Council, but with conditions. Morrison returned to the alien ship with a document. We accept membership, but we request that formal rules of engagement be established. We want clear laws about warfare, territorial rights, and conflict resolution. Kelvin's face did something that might have been a smile. Of course, the Council has very strict rules about warfare between member species. We are civilized, unlike the primitive conflicts on your world. We also want it on record that Earth maintains certain military capabilities as reserved assets. Morrison continued. We will share information about 85% of our defensive systems. The remaining 15% will stay classified under our internal security protocols. Several alien delegates made sounds that the translation devices rendered as laughter. Reserved assets? One of them said. What could a Class 4 civilization possibly need to hide from the Council? Morrison's expression stayed calm. It's our policy. We believe in measured response to threats. What we're showing you is what we use for peacetime operations. We have other capabilities that we prefer not to reveal unless absolutely necessary. This is adorable, another alien said. They think they have secret weapons that would impress us. Kelvin raised one of his 4 hands for silence. Very well. Earth may keep its little secrets. We respect your cultural need for privacy. Now let us discuss your assignments within the Council structure. Over the next weeks, Earth learned its place in the galactic order. Human colonies would mine asteroids and provide raw materials. Earth factories would produce basic goods. Human culture would be shared as entertainment for other species. It was clear that the Council saw humanity as useful but not important. During the negotiations, human military observers noted everything. They recorded the alien ship designs, studied their technology, and analyzed their attitudes. Every piece of information went into classified databases deep inside secure facilities on Earth and Mars. General Patricia Okoye, head of the newly formed Earth Defense Coordination, met with the planet's top military leaders in a bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains. They think we're primitive, she said, looking at the assembled officers. They think our weapons are toys. They have no idea what we're really capable of. Should we show them? Asked a Chinese general. No, Okoye replied firmly. The President and the Unity Council have been clear. We play the role they expect. We smile, we mine their asteroids, we follow their rules. But we watch everything. We learn everything. And we prepare for the day when their rules don't protect us anymore. What about the Reserved Assets Protocol? Someone asked. Okoye pulled up a holographic display. It showed statistics that would have shocked the Galactic Council. Earth's true military capacity was not 15% larger than reported. It was 800% larger. The planet had weapon systems developed in secret for decades. Artificial intelligence warfare platforms, genetic defense protocols, ships that could move through space in ways the aliens had never seen, energy weapons that made the Council's technology look ancient. The protocol stays in place, Okoye confirmed. We warned them. We told them we were holding back. They laughed. That's their mistake, not ours. The first galactic year passed peacefully. Humans worked in their assigned roles. They seemed content to be the junior members of the cosmic community. Earth's representatives attended council meetings and voted as expected. Human ships traveled the approved trade routes and caused no trouble. But in secret military facilities across human space, a different story unfolded. Earth's fleets expanded quietly. New weapons were tested in the dark spaces between stars. Human intelligence officers infiltrated alien worlds and gathered information. Scientists developed technologies that broke the Council's understanding of physics. Ambassador Morrison attended a council reception on the station orbiting the planet Tarsus Prime. Alien delegates drank strange liquors and discussed galactic politics. Several of them approached Morrison with friendly condescension. "How is Earth adapting to civilization?" one asked. Morrison smiled politely. "We're learning a great deal. Thank you for your patience with us." "It must be difficult being so far behind the rest of us," another alien said. "We manage," Morrison replied. He thought about the quantum displacement cannon that had just completed testing near Jupiter. He thought about the AI fleet that could respond to threats in microseconds. He thought about the classified research stations scattered through human space, working on projects that would terrify the Council if they knew. "You're very quiet for such a primitive species," Kelvin observed, approaching with drinks. "We're observers by nature," Morrison said. "We prefer to watch and learn before we act." "A wise policy for a junior species," Kelvin agreed. Morrison nodded and said nothing. In his mind, he repeated the words that had become Earth's unofficial motto since joining the Council. "Speak softly. Prepare everything. And pray they never make us show them what we really are." The peaceful year continued. Earth seemed to be exactly what the Council expected. A useful, obedient, unremarkable new member of the galactic community. They had no idea how wrong they were. The colony on New Brisbane was 3 years old. 15,000 humans had made the planet their home. They had built farms in the green valleys and cities along the blue rivers. Children played in parks under an orange sky. It was peaceful and beautiful, a sign that humanity could thrive among the stars. The Xinthian Empire's war fleet arrived without warning on a Saturday morning. There were 37 ships, each one bristling with weapons. The Xinthians were a predatory species that looked like massive insects covered in black armor. They had joined the Galactic Council 2 centuries ago but were known for pushing boundaries and testing limits. They respected only strength and saw kindness as weakness. Commander David Park was having coffee in the colony's control center when the alarms screamed to life. His screens filled with red warnings. Sensors showed the enemy fleet entering orbit above them. "Get everyone to the shelters," Park shouted. "Send distress signals to Earth and the Council." "Move." The colony's defensive systems activated. They had shields and a few weapons, enough to stop pirates or small threats. Against a full military fleet, they were useless. Park knew it. Everyone knew it. The Xinthian commander opened a communication channel. His translator made his clicking sounds into harsh words. "Human colony, this is Fleet Commander Zarkoth. Your species has something we want. You will evacuate this planet within 6 hours. Leave everything behind. Refuse and we will remove you by force." Park's hands shook with rage. "This is illegal under Council law. We have rights to this world. Our claim was approved by—" "Your claim means nothing," Zarkoth interrupted. "The Council protects those who can defend themselves. You are weak. We are strong. This is how the galaxy works. We have civilians here. Children! Then you should evacuate quickly." Park cut the transmission and looked at his staff. "Contact Earth, tell them everything. Send all our sensor data. Make sure they know what's happening here." His communications officer worked frantically at her station. Message sent through the quantum relay. "Earth will have it in 3 minutes." Park ordered the evacuation to begin, but he knew the truth. They had 36 transport ships. It would take days to evacuate everyone. The Xinthians had given them 6 hours. It was impossible. On Earth, the message arrived at 3 in the morning, Geneva time. General Okoye was pulled from sleep by an urgent call. She reached the command center within 15 minutes, still buttoning her uniform. The situation room was chaos. Screens showed the Xinthian fleet over New Brisbane. Officers shouted status reports. The president was on video link, her face gray with shock and anger. "How long do we have?" the president asked. 4 hours now, Okoye replied. "Maybe less. They're demanding full evacuation and we can't do it in time." "What about the Council? Where's their peacekeeping fleet?" Ambassador Morrison's face appeared on another screen. He was at the Council station looking exhausted. "I've been arguing with them for an hour. They refuse to intervene. They say this is an internal matter between Earth and the Xinthian Empire. They say if Earth can't defend its colonies, it shouldn't have colonies. That's insane, someone shouted. That's politics, Morrison replied bitterly. Half the council species think we're too weak to matter. The other half are afraid of the Xinthians. No one wants to help us. The president's jaw tightened. General Okoye, what are our military options? Okoye pulled up tactical displays. Our nearest official fleet is 6 days away. Too far. But... She paused, looking at classified files that most people in the room had never seen. We have other assets. The reserved assets? The president asked quietly. Yes, ma'am. We have ships that can reach New Brisbane in 2 hours. We have weapons that can eliminate the Xinthian fleet in less than 20 minutes. But if we use them, the secret is out. The whole galaxy will know what we've been hiding. The room fell silent. Everyone understood the weight of that decision. For a year, Earth had played the role of the weak junior species. It had been useful. It had kept them safe. Using their real military power would change everything. The president closed her eyes for a moment. Get me Commander Park. The image of New Brisbane's control center appeared. Park looked terrified but determined. Behind him, alarms blared and people ran past carrying emergency supplies. Commander, this is the president. What's your situation? We're evacuating, ma'am, but we won't make it. We have maybe 5,000 people off planet so far. The Xinthians just reduced their deadline to 2 hours. They're powering up weapons. Park's voice cracked. Ma'am, we need help. These are families here. Kids, please. The president looked at Okoye. Their eyes met. No words were needed. Commander Park, help is coming, the president said. Get as many people as you can to the shelters. Reinforce them. We're sending our fleet. Ma'am, the reports say our nearest ships are days away. I didn't say our official fleet, Commander. I said our fleet. 2 hours. Hold on. The transmission ended. The president turned to Okoye. General, you have full authorization. Use everything we have. Show them what we really are. Okoye nodded and opened a communication channel that had never been used before. It reached military facilities that officially didn't exist. Secret bases and asteroid fields. Hidden ships waiting in the dark between planets. Research stations where humans had built weapons that broke every assumption the galaxy had about human technology. This is General Okoye. Authorization code Omega 77 Bravo. Directive 7 is now active. Full asset release. I repeat, full asset release. New Brisbane is under attack. All available units are weapons free. Gods help them because we're about to unleash hell. Across human space, systems activated that had been sleeping for a year. Ships powered up engines that didn't make noise in space but somehow felt louder than thunder. Weapon systems came online. Their artificial intelligence minds calculating trajectories and kill zones. Soldiers who had trained in secret prepared for real combat. Near Neptune, a military station that appeared on no official maps released 12 ships. They weren't shaped like normal human vessels. They were angular and dark, covered in materials that bent light around them. Each ship had enough firepower to destroy a city. Each ship had an AI co-pilot that could make tactical decisions faster than any organic mind. These were the Shadow Fleet, Earth's first line of real defense. On New Brisbane, Commander Park watched his countdown timer. 90 minutes until the Xinthian deadline. 8,000 people were still on the planet. The enemy ships were moving into bombardment positions. Then his sensor officer gasped. Commander! New contacts! 12 ships just appeared at the edge of the system. They're broadcasting Earth military codes. That's impossible, Park said. They can't be here yet, but they were. The Shadow Fleet had traveled faster than the Xinthians thought possible. They had technology that made their engines more efficient than anything the Council used. They had been waiting for this moment, preparing for it, hoping it would never come. Hope had run out. The lead ship of the Shadow Fleet opened a channel. The voice was calm and cold. Xinthian vessels, this is Captain Sarah Martinez of the Earth Defense Force. You are ordered to withdraw immediately. You have attacked a human colony in violation of Council law. You have 60 seconds to begin retreating. Commander Zarkoth's response was laughter. 12 ships against 37? Human arrogance is amusing. We will destroy you, then we will destroy the colony. Your species needs to learn its place. We tried to teach you our place, Martinez replied. You didn't listen. Now we'll show you. 59 seconds, 58. The Xinthian fleet turned to face the human ships. They powered up their weapons, confident in their numbers and their experience. They had fought dozens of wars. They had destroyed fleets larger than this. They had never fought humans who weren't playing games anymore. 47 seconds. The human ships spread out in a pattern that looked random but wasn't. They were positioning themselves in precise locations calculated by their AI systems. 30 seconds. The Xinthians fired. Massive energy beams lanced across space toward the human ships. 20 seconds. The energy beams hit nothing. The human ships were suddenly somewhere else, having moved faster than the Xinthians could track. 10 seconds. The Shadow Fleet opened fire. What happened next would be analyzed by military historians for generations. The weapons the humans used were like nothing in the Galactic arsenal. Missiles that thought for themselves and predicted enemy movement. Energy weapons that punched through shields like they weren't there. Drones that swarmed like angry insects, each one carrying enough explosive power to crack a ship's hull. In 6 minutes, 15 Xinthian ships were destroyed. The rest tried to run. They didn't make it far. On New Brisbane, Commander Park and his staff watched their screens in stunned silence. The battle was so one-sided it looked like a training simulation. "Get everyone back to their homes," Park said quietly. "Tell them it's over. Tell them Earth kept its promise." In space, Captain Martinez surveyed the wreckage. "Open a channel to the Galactic Council. Full broadcast. I want everyone to hear this." Ambassador Morrison appeared on screen, his eyes wide. Behind him, alien delegates crowded around, staring at the battle footage. "Earth tried to warn you," Martinez said, her voice carrying to every council member, to every ship in range, to every station that monitored galactic communications. "We told you we were holding back. We told you." The Xinthian High Command didn't believe the first reports. 12 human ships destroying half a battle fleet? Impossible. There had to be a mistake, a malfunction in the communication system, something wrong with the data. Then the survivors arrived home. Their ships were barely functional, hulls torn open, systems burned out. The pilots told stories that sounded like nightmares. Human weapons that appeared from nowhere, ships that moved faster than sensors could track, technology that shouldn't exist. War Master Kretoth watched the footage in his command chamber on the Xinthian homeworld. He saw his proud fleet cut apart like prey animals. His mandibles clicked together in agitation. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Earth is Class 4, primitive, weak." His intelligence officer, a scarred veteran named Zalmor, pulled up data on the holographic display. "Our assessment was wrong, War Master. Earth has been deceiving the Council. These ships use technology we've never encountered. Their weapons operate on principles our scientists don't understand. Then we will study them," Kretoth declared. "We will learn their secrets and take them for ourselves. Prepare the full armada. We will crush Earth itself and teach these mammals their place." Zalmor hesitated. "War Master, perhaps we should—" "You question me." "No, War Master. I only suggest caution. If Earth has more hidden capabilities, then we will face them with overwhelming force," Kretoth interrupted. "The Xinthian Empire does not retreat. We do not apologize. We do not show weakness to prey species. Send the message to Earth. They have 48 hours to surrender 5 of their systems to us, or we will destroy their home world." The message reached Earth within hours. General Okoye read it twice, then called an emergency meeting of the Unity Council. "They want 5 systems, including Mars," she told the assembled leaders. "And they're giving us 2 days to surrender them." "They're insane," the Chinese premier said. "They just watched their fleet get destroyed and they're threatening us." Ambassador Morrison, attending by video link, shook his head. "It's not insane. It's their culture. The Xinthians only respect strength. They believe showing weakness is worse than death. Retreating after a defeat would destroy their reputation, so they escalate instead. Then we'll have to teach them a harder lesson," the president said. She looked at Okoye. "General, show us everything. I want to know exactly what capabilities we have." Okoye pulled up files that made everyone in the room go quiet. Earth's real military capabilities were staggering. The Shadow Fleet was just the beginning. There were weapons that could tear apart planets, drones that could think and fight independently, ships that could travel through space in ways that seemed to break physics, genetic warfare systems that could target specific species, and more, much more, all developed in secret over decades. "If we use all of this," Okoye explained, "the galaxy will never look at us the same way again. We'll be feared, maybe hated, definitely isolated. But we'll be alive," the president replied. and no one will dare attack human colonies again. Send the response. Earth's reply to the Xinthian ultimatum was short. You have 48 hours to withdraw all Xinthian military forces to your home system. You will pay reparations for the attack on New Brisbane. You will formally apologize to the human species and the Galactic Council. Refuse and we will show you what war with humanity really means. War Master Kratoth read the message and laughed. They dare give us ultimatums? Activate the full armada. We leave for Earth immediately. The Xinthian Empire's complete military force was 300 warships. They had conquered a dozen species with that fleet. They had never lost a major conflict. They were confident, experienced, and completely unprepared for what was coming. The armada gathered in the Xinthian home system, a massive display of military power. War Master Kratoth stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Devourer, and addressed his fleet. Today we teach the humans a lesson. We show the galaxy that the Xinthian Empire cannot be challenged. Forward, to Earth. The fleet engaged their faster-than-light drives. They would reach human space in 4 hours. They never made it. General Okoye had given orders that were terrifying in their simplicity. Don't just stop their military, and their capacity to ever threaten anyone again. Make them an example. Earth's full military capability, hidden for so long, emerged into the light. It wasn't just the 12 ships of the Shadow Fleet. It was hundreds of vessels, some so advanced they seemed like magic. They had been waiting in dark spaces throughout the galaxy, watching, ready. When the Xinthian armada dropped out of faster-than-light travel, they expected empty space between their home and Earth. Instead, they found a human fleet of 200 ships waiting for them. Impossible, War Master Kratoth whispered. They couldn't have known our route. They couldn't have positioned so many ships so quickly. But they had. Earth's intelligence network had infiltrated Xinthian communications months ago. Human AI systems had calculated every possible attack route. The fleet had positioned itself perfectly, and the Xinthians had flown directly into a trap. The battle lasted 6 hours. It wasn't really a battle. It was a demonstration. Human weapons systems that the Xinthians couldn't understand tore through their shields. Missiles that corrected their course mid-flight struck with perfect accuracy. Drone swarms overwhelmed point defense systems. Energy beams that somehow passed through solid matter without losing power destroyed ships from the inside. War Master Kratoth watched his fleet die. Every ship he sent forward was destroyed. Every retreat was cut off. The humans didn't just fight. They controlled the battlefield completely. They showed tactics and technology that made the Xinthians look like children playing with sticks. All ships retreat, Kratoth finally ordered. Back to the home world. But the humans weren't done. They followed. They didn't just defeat the Xinthian military. They dismantled it piece by piece, destroying every ship, every station, every military asset they found. On the 4th hour, a human ship approached the Devourer. Kratoth expected a final attack. Instead, he received a communication. Captain Martinez appeared on his screen. War Master Kratoth, your fleet is destroyed. We could kill you now, but we're giving you a choice. Surrender completely. Agree to our terms and your species survives. Refuse and we will demonstrate a weapon your people don't want to see. What weapon? Kratoth asked, his pride broken but his curiosity remaining. Martinez didn't answer directly. Instead, she transmitted coordinates. That's an asteroid in your outer system. A rock 3 kilometers wide. No life, no value. Watch. A single human ship moved toward the asteroid. It fired something too small to see on most sensors. Whatever it was entered the asteroid and vanished. For 5 seconds, nothing happened. Then the entire asteroid exploded, not just broke apart. Every atom in that 3-kilometer rock seemed to stop existing at the same moment. The explosion was so complete that sensors showed only a cloud of component particles where the asteroid had been. That was a quantum dissolution weapon, Martinez explained. It breaks apart matter at the subatomic level. We have 17 more, each one aimed at military and industrial targets throughout your empire. We also have conventional weapons pointed at your civilian centers, though we'd prefer not to use them. She leaned forward, her face cold. You attacked our civilians. You threatened our home world. We could do the same to you, but we're not you. We don't want genocide. We want justice. Surrender now and your people live. Force us to continue and history will forget the Xinthian Empire ever existed. Kratoth looked at his displays. His fleet was gone. 300 ships reduced to wreckage and escape pods. The humans had technology that seemed impossible, weapons that defied understanding, and they had shown restraint. They could have destroyed the Zynthian homeworld already, but hadn't. For the first time in his military career, War Master Kratoth felt true fear. "We surrender," he said quietly. "The Zynthian Empire surrenders to humanity." The news spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. The Zynthian Empire, one of the Council's most aggressive military powers, had been completely defeated in less than a day. Not just defeated, humiliated. Broken alien species watched the footage with shock and horror. Humans had technology that shouldn't exist, weapons that violated understood physics, and they had been hiding it all, playing the role of weak junior members while building an arsenal that could challenge the entire Council. On the Galactic Council station, Ambassador Morrison called an emergency session. Every species sent representatives. The chamber was more crowded than it had been in years. Everyone wanted to understand what had just happened. Morrison stood at the speaker's platform. Behind him, holographic displays showed the battle. The destroyed Zynthian fleet, the human weapons in action, the quantum dissolution of the asteroid. "Members of the Council," Morrison began, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Earth warned you. When we joined this body a year ago, we told you we were operating under peacetime restrictions. We told you we had reserved capabilities. You laughed. You called it adorable. You dismissed us as a primitive Class 4 civilization. Hee-paw." The Galactic Council's intelligence division was having the worst week in its history. Director Yelsera, a six-limbed being from the Cordian species, sat in her office surrounded by reports that made her sick. Each report revealed another layer of deception. Each document showed how badly they had underestimated Earth. "They've been watching us," she told the Council's Security Committee. "Not for 1 year. For decades. Since before official first contact." The committee members looked at her in shock. Ambassador Kelvin spoke first. "That's impossible. We monitored Earth's development. We saw their first space flights, their primitive probes. When did they—" "We saw what they wanted us to see," Yelsera interrupted. She pulled up data on the holographic display. "Look at this. We have evidence now that Earth had stealth satellites observing Council space 30 years ago. They were studying us while we thought we were studying them." An alien general from the Torvan species clicked his mandibles nervously. "What else did they hide?" Yelsera pulled up more files. "Everything. Their true population numbers are 40% higher than reported. They have 17 colonies we knew nothing about. Their industrial capacity is 12 times what we calculated. And their technology—" She paused. "Their technology is at least 300 years ahead of our estimates." "How?" someone asked. "Because they developed it in secret. While they showed us their official space program with chemical rockets and basic fusion, they were building quantum drives and artificial intelligence systems in hidden facilities. While they signed our trade agreements and acted grateful for our technology, they were laughing at us. They already had better versions of everything we offered." The room fell into uncomfortable silence. Finally, Kelvin asked the question everyone was thinking. "What else don't we know about them?" "Everything," Yelsera replied. "We know nothing real about humanity. Every assessment we made was based on false information they fed us. They played us perfectly, and now they've revealed just enough capability to make us fear them, while keeping their full strength hidden." She pulled up footage from the battle with the Zynthian Empire. "These weapons they used?"
"Our scientists have analyzed them."
"Some operate on principles we don't understand. The quantum dissolution weapon alone would take our best researchers decades to replicate, if we even could. And according to their own statement, this represents 15% of their capability. What's the other 85%? Someone whispered. "We don't know, and that terrifies me more than anything." The meeting ended with a grim conclusion. Earth had infiltrated the galactic community at every level. They had spies, hidden technology, secret colonies, and weapons that could threaten any species in the Council. And now that they'd revealed themselves, the balance of power had shifted dramatically. On Earth, General Okoye was dealing with a different problem. 3 Council species had supported the Zynthian attack on New Brisbane. Not openly, but through quiet supply agreements and intelligence sharing. Human spies had evidence of their involvement. The president looked at the files Okoye presented. The Vrex, the Korthan Unity, and the Belter Collective. They all helped the Zynthians plan the attack. "Yes, ma'am," Okoye confirmed. The Vrex provided tactical data about our colony defenses. The Corthan Unity supplied weapons to the Xinthian fleet. The Belter Collective gave them intelligence about our official ship positions. They bet on the wrong side, the president said coldly. What do you recommend? Public exposure. We present the evidence to the council. Let everyone see what happens when you conspire against humanity. Then we demand reparations and permanent monitoring of their military activities. Do it. Ambassador Morrison stood before the council 3 days later. The chamber was full. Everyone wanted to see what Earth would do next. Morrison activated the holographic displays and the chamber filled with evidence. Communication intercepts, financial transactions, video footage of weapons being loaded onto Xinthian ships. The Xinthian attack on New Brisbane wasn't just their idea, Morrison announced. 3 council members helped them. The Vrex provided intelligence. The Corthan Unity supplied weapons. The Belter Collective gave tactical support. They conspired to attack a human colony, hoping we would be too weak to respond effectively. The representatives from those 3 species stood in protest. This is slander, the Vrex ambassador shouted. You have no proof, Morrison smiled. We have every proof. We have your encrypted communications. We've had spies in your governments for over a year. We know what you eat for breakfast, Ambassador. We certainly know when you're planning to help someone murder our citizens. The evidence played across the displays. It was undeniable, complete. The 3 species had nowhere to hide. Earth demands the following, Morrison continued. First, formal apologies from all 3 species. Second, reparations totaling 5 billion galactic credits to be divided among the families of New Brisbane's victims. Third, permanent human observers stationed within your military command structures. Fourth, complete transparency regarding your weapons programs and military deployments. This is outrageous. The Corthan representative protested. You're demanding we accept occupation. No, Morrison replied. We're demanding accountability. You tried to have us killed. This is what mercy looks like. Because if we were like you, we'd simply destroy your military infrastructure and be done with it. Instead, we're offering you a chance to make things right. The 3 species had no choice. The evidence was too clear, and the implicit threat was obvious. Earth had destroyed the Xinthian Empire in hours. What would they do to smaller powers who refused to cooperate? They agreed to every demand. The council restructured itself in the following weeks. Earth went from junior member to senior power. Human representatives gained veto authority on military matters. New laws were passed requiring transparency about weapons development. Species that had laughed at humanity a month ago now sought their approval for basic military operations, but not everyone accepted the new order. In the shadows, a resistance formed. The Preservation Front started as a secret meeting between 5 species. They met on a neutral station at the edge of council space, taking extreme precautions against human surveillance. They're a threat to the entire galactic order, declared Commander Privex of the Anktaran species. He was a military strategist with 3 decades of experience. One species can't have this much power. It's unnatural, dangerous. They've already destroyed 1 empire and humiliated 3 others, added Scholar Marwin from the academic Thalasian species. If we don't act, they'll dominate the entire council. Eventually, they'll dominate all of known space. What can we do? Asked a representative from the Pix Collective. Their technology is superior to ours. Superior in direct combat, Privex agreed. But there are other ways to fight: sabotage, economic warfare, political manipulation, and if necessary, a coordinated strike against Earth itself before they can expand further. The group grew over weeks. 20 species joined the Preservation Front, then 30. All of them shared one goal: contain the human threat before it was too late. They believed they were saving the galaxy from a dangerous upstart species. They didn't know that every meeting they held was monitored. Every communication they sent was intercepted. Every member was identified and tracked. Earth's intelligence network had infiltrated the front from the beginning. General Okoye watched the surveillance reports with grim satisfaction. They're planning to strike Earth directly. A coordinated attack by 30 species. They think we don't know. Should we arrest them now? Asked her intelligence chief. No, Okoye replied. Let them commit. Let them launch their attack. We need to teach a lesson that the entire galaxy will remember. One that makes it clear: you don't threaten humanity without consequences. The president authorized a plan that was both simple and brutal. Earth would allow the Preservation Front to attack. Human civilians would be evacuated to secure locations. Defensive systems would be ready. And when the front committed their forces, Earth would crush them so completely that no one would ever challenge humanity again. Meanwhile, Ambassador Morrison worked on the political side. He met with council species that hadn't joined the front, securing alliances and non-aggression pacts. He offered technology sharing to those who remained loyal. He built a coalition of species who understood that fighting Earth was suicide. "We don't want to rule the galaxy," Morrison told them. "We just want to be left alone to grow and thrive. Work with us and you'll prosper. Work against us and, well, you've seen what happens." 6 months after the destruction of the Xinthian fleet, the galaxy had split into 3 camps. There were Earth's allies who benefited from human technology and protection. There were neutral species who wanted nothing to do with the conflict. And there was the Preservation Front, growing bolder and more desperate. The front believed they had 40 species ready to strike. They planned to hit Earth with overwhelming force, targeting military installations and key infrastructure. They would cripple humanity's ability to project power, then negotiate from a position of strength. They held a final planning meeting on a remote station. Representatives from each species attended in person. Security was absolute. No human spies could penetrate their defenses. They were certain of it. Commander Privex stood before the Preservation Front's attack began precisely at midnight. Universal Coordinated Time. 500 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. They came from 30 different species united by fear and determination. Commander Privex stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical display with satisfaction. "All ships report ready," his tactical officer announced. "No human fleet detected. Their defenses appear minimal." Privex smiled. "Earth's arrogance will be their downfall. They thought their reputation would protect them. Today we proved that reputation is just words. Begin the attack." The fleet moved forward. Their plan was simple. Overwhelm Earth's orbital defenses, strike at military installations, and force humanity to negotiate. They expected fierce resistance. They expected casualties. What they didn't expect was the silence, no alarms. No emergency broadcasts. No scrambling defensive fleet. Earth was quiet. "Something's wrong," Privex muttered. "Where are their ships?" His sensor officer checked the displays again. "I'm not detecting any major military presence. Some satellites, automated defense platforms, but nothing that could stop us." "It's a trap," someone said. "Then we've already sprung it," Privex replied. "Forward. Maintain formation." The fleet advanced deeper into the solar system. They passed Mars, past the asteroid belt, moved toward Earth itself. Still no resistance. The planet hung in space, blue and green and beautiful, apparently defenseless. Then every ship in the front's fleet lost power at the same moment. Not weapon systems. Not shields, everything. Engines died. Life support switched to backup. Navigation failed. Communication systems went dark. 500 warships became 500 floating boxes, drifting through space with no control. "What happened?" Privex shouted. "Report!" His crew worked frantically, but nothing responded. Their ship was dead in space, and from the panicked transmissions on emergency channels, so was everyone else. On Earth, deep in a military command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Okoye watched with cold satisfaction. Electromagnetic pulse, wide-spectrum frequency disruption, and quantum interference all deployed simultaneously. Every ship in their fleet is disabled. "How long will they stay that way?" the president asked. "As long as we want them to," Okoye replied. "We can restore their systems remotely when we're ready." "Right now they're helpless," the president nodded. "Show them what they're facing." Lights appeared in space around the frozen enemy fleet. Not ships appearing, just lights turning on. The front's forces had been surrounded the entire time by vessels so stealthy that no sensors detected them. There were hundreds of human ships, all invisible until they chose to be seen, all armed with weapons that could destroy the disabled fleet in minutes. Power returned to Privex's ship. His screens came alive, showing the human fleet surrounding them. His communication system activated, and a voice spoke in every language at once. "This is General Patricia Okoye of Earth Defense Force. Your attack has failed. You are completely surrounded. Your ships are only functional because we allow it. We disabled every vessel in your fleet with a single coordinated pulse. We could have destroyed you just as easily." Privex stared at the tactical display. The human ships weren't in battle formation. They didn't need to be. They had already won. We knew about your preservation front since the day you formed it, Okoye continued. We knew about every meeting, every plan, every member. We allowed you to organize. We let you commit your forces. Do you understand why? The silence on the channel was answer enough. We needed you to learn, Okoye said. Not just you, but everyone in the galaxy. Attacking humanity has consequences. You came here with 500 ships from 30 species. You came to break us to show the galaxy we could be defeated. She paused. Instead, you've shown them something else. You've shown them that humans can disable an entire fleet without firing a shot, that our stealth technology makes us invisible until we want to be seen, that we can control the battlefield so completely that resistance is meaningless. On his bridge, Privex felt something he'd never experienced in 3 decades of military service. Not fear, despair, they hadn't just lost. They had been played from the beginning, allowed to feel strong and prepared only to be shown how helpless they really were. You have a choice, Okoye continued. Surrender now. Return to your homeworlds. Disband your alliance, or we demonstrate what we would have done if we weren't being merciful. What demonstration? Privex asked, his voice hollow. There's a dead solar system 11 light-years from here. No planets, just asteroids and cosmic dust. We'll show you what we were prepared to do to Earth's solar system if you had somehow posed a real threat. A single human ship broke from the formation. It traveled to the coordinates Okoye mentioned, and the front's fleet watched on their screens. The ship stopped near a large asteroid field and deployed something small. Then it retreated. For 10 seconds, nothing happened. Then space itself seemed to tear open. A wave of energy exploded outward from the deployment point, expanding at impossible speed. Every asteroid it touched disintegrated, not exploded, ceased to exist. The wave consumed the entire field in minutes, leaving nothing but empty space where millions of rocks had been. That's a stellar-scale dissolution weapon, Okoye explained. We have 3 more. If your attack had somehow disabled our normal defenses, if you had landed troops on Earth, if you had threatened our civilians, we would have used these weapons to destroy every ship, every station, every military asset in your home systems. Then we would have occupied your worlds and dismantled your governments. The front's leadership watched in horror. This wasn't warfare. This was annihilation technology. The power to erase matter from existence on a massive scale. We didn't use these weapons on you, Okoye continued. Do you know why? Because we're not monsters. We don't want to commit genocide. We want to be left alone. But if you force our hand, if you threaten our people, we will use every weapon we have. And you've now seen what that means. She let that sink in. I'll ask one more time. Surrender or continue this fight and discover what else we've been hiding. The answer came within minutes. Every ship in the preservation front surrendered. Their commanders were taken into custody. Their crews were disarmed. The Great Alliance meant to contain humanity fell apart without a single human shot fired in anger. The aftermath was broadcast across the entire galaxy. Every species saw the footage. The disabled fleet. The invisible human ships. The dissolution of the asteroid field. The complete, total, overwhelming victory without even needing to fight. Galactic Council chambers were silent for 3 full days. Species that had been considering joining the front immediately withdrew. Those that had remained neutral began sending diplomatic messages to Earth, asking for friendship. The ones who had supported humanity felt vindicated. Ambassador Morrison addressed the Council 1 week later. The chamber was packed. Every species wanted to hear what Earth would say. The Preservation Front believed they were saving the galaxy from us. Morrison began. They thought we were a threat that needed to be contained. And maybe they were right to be afraid. We have weapons that can destroy planets. Technology that seems impossible. Military power that exceeds most species combined. He paused, looking around the chamber. But here's what they didn't understand. We don't want to conquer you. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want what every species wants. Safety, prosperity, and the chance to grow. Morrison pulled up an image of New Brisbane. We revealed our true capabilities for one reason. Because the Xinthian Empire attacked our colony and killed 15,000 people. And the Council did nothing. You expected us to accept that. To be good junior members and learn our place, his voice hardened. We learned our place. We're not the weakest species in the galaxy. We're not primitives who need your guidance. We're the ones who hold the biggest stick, and we're done pretending otherwise. He changed the image to show Earth's new demands. The Council will be restructured. Earth will have a permanent seat on the Security Committee with full veto power. Any attack on a council member will be met with collective response. Species that develop weapons of mass destruction will be subject to inspection, and the council will establish a real peacekeeping force, not just words and empty promises. And if we refuse? Someone asked. Morrison smiled without humor. Then Earth withdraws from the council. We build our own alliance. We offer our protection and technology to species who want it, and we let you deal with the next aggressive empire that rises without our help. The vote took 2 days. Every single species voted to approve Earth's demands. The alternative was worse than accepting human leadership. New Brisbane was rebuilt over the following year. The colony became a symbol of humanity's resolve. In the central square, they erected a memorial. It was made of quantum-locked crystal, programmed to display the names of the 15,000 dead forever, visible from orbit. Around it, the colonists built a beautiful city, showing that humanity would not be driven away by violence. At the memorial's dedication, CE